Welcome back sa ating Business and Transfer Tax class. Tayo pa rin ay nasa Chapter 3, VAT on Sale of Services, Part 2. Ako pa rin ang inyong guro, Romualdo Fernandez Credo. So kung kayo ay handa na, kumuha ng ballpen at malinis na papel para sa inyong mga notes. So let's start. Tax base. So ang tax base sa value added tax on sale of services ay ang gross receipts. So alam nyo naman na kung ano ang ibig sabihin ng tax base. Ang tax base dyan, i-multiply yung tax rate of course. And sa ating previous lesson, sa chapter 2, diniscuss na natin ang mga rates ng VAT. So 12%, mayroong zero rated, at mayroong 5% na withholding VAT. So ano nga bang ibig sabihin ng gross receipts? It means cash or its equivalent actually received or constructively received, not including the VAT itself. So kapag ang binayad sa'yo ay including VAT, so hindi pwedeng maging gross receipts yun. Kailangan i-exclude mo yung tax itself para malaman kung magkano yung gross receipt. So ano nga bang binabayaran? Bakit siya magbibigay ng cash or cash equivalent? Ito. Letter A, payment on contract price. So mayroon contract of service. So syempre kailangan may bayad yon. Compensation, service fees, rental ng real or personal property or ng right. Kaya magkakaroon ka ng royalty. Letter B, payment for materials supplied with the services. So, mayroong kasing mga type of services na kasama sa package doon sa contract yung materials na gagamitin sa pag-perform ng services. Like for example, magko-construct ng building. Hindi naman pwedeng mag-construct kung walang materials. So kapag yung binayad ni client ay kasama ang material. So therefore, kasama siya sa gross receipts, which is yun yung tax base. Letter C, deposits or advance payment on the contract. So kung may deposit na or advance payment for the contract, isama mo na sa gross receipts na magiging tax base. So balikan lang natin yung sinabi kanina doon sa definition ng gross receipts, yung early part niya, yung actually received or constructively received, sabi doon. So, pag yung actually receive, yun yung kung ikaw ang babayaran, nahawakan mo physically yung pera or kung ano man ang binigay as pambayad. Yun yung actual receipt na tinatawag. Pero yung constructive, kasi may mga bagay na imposible or hindi possible for the time being na ma-deliver. So for example, yung pera hindi pwedeng ma-deliver due to whatever reason. So pwedeng i-deposit na lang sa bank. So pag na-deposit naman na sa account mo, yun yung tinatawag nating constructively received. For example then, halimbawa ang pangbayad ay car, hindi pera ang pambayad. So, instead na ibigay mismo yung car, kasi medyo malaki siya, ang binigay sa seller ng services is yung susi. O kaya naman yung impossible talagang may deliver yung land o kaya house and lot. Siyempre, pwedeng symbolical na lang ang tawag doon, symbolical delivery. Pwedeng susi na lang din o kaya yung title ng property ang ibigay sa seller. So, consider na yun as na-receive na niya. Yun yung tinatawag na constructively received. So ito, define yung constructive receipt. It occurs when a money consideration or its equivalent is placed in the control of the person who rendered the services without restriction by the wala nang restriction kasi, no? So binigay na, so may control ka na. For example, yung example natin kanina, dineposit na yung pera dun sa account mo. So ikaw na may control dun sa cash. So since ikaw na may control, sa iyo na yun. So constructive receive na yan. More examples of constructive receipt. So, yung letter A, yun na yung example natin kanina, yung pera na dineposit sa account ng seller ng services. So, kung wala namang restriction yun, so okay na yun, di ba? Considered as na-receive na niya. So, sa letter B na tayo. Issuance by the debtor of a notice of offset any debt or obligation and acceptance thereof by the seller as payment of the services rendered. So, in-offset na yung utang ng debtor kasi nga nag-render siya ng services. So, consider na yun as since in-offset, wala naman ang kailangan i-deliver, na-render na yung services. So, ibig sabihin, nag-prescribe na kasi nga nagkaroon na ng settlement between do sa parties. Nagkaroon na nag-render na ng services for the liability. Letter C, transfer of amount retained by the owner to the account of the contractor. Parang similar din lang yan sa deposit. Transfer na yung pera na ni-retain ng owner dun sa contractor. So, parang ganun din. Kasi minsan sa construction, kasi may mga ganyan-ganyan. Retainer, parang gano'n. I-retain. May certain amount na nire-retain, parang magsaserve as warranty. For example, halimbawa, pag nagka-problema sa contract, so merong, yung nagpapagawa ng property. Meron siyang hinahawakan na para i-fulfill o ayusin ni contractor yung pinapagawa niya. Parang gano'n. So, let's have an illustration sa application ng concept ng gross receipt. So, let's identify kung ano ang gross receipt sa mga susunod na problem. Number 1, Mr. Ang is a contractor. In constructing a building, he furnished labor and was paid a contract price of 1,100,000, but not included. No? Kasi nga, based dun sa ating gross receipt, definition ng gross receipt, it should not include the tax itself, yung VAT itself. So, it's good na VAT not included siya. So, ang question is, magkano yung taxable gross receipts? Magkano yung gross receipts na subject to VAT na 12%? And then, sa letter B naman, all we have to do, pag na-identify na natin yung letter A, is multiply lang ng 12%. So, magiging gross receipts na ba yung 1,100,000? Correct, kasi it is already paid. Diba? Sabi doon, pag binayaran na, kasama na sa gross receipts. So, 1,100,000 ang ating gross receipts. I-multiply natin ng 12%. So, yun yung ating value added tax na 132%. So, ulitin natin. Letter A, 1,100,000 ang sagot. Yung tax base natin, yung gross receipts. And then, letter B, multiply lang natin yung letter A ng 12%. So, before we continue, itong ating application. So, ang tinatanong kasi is taxable gross receipts, maski dun sa previous problem, no? So, gross receipts. dinefine natin kanina, so alam niyo na yan. Tapos, ang pangalawang tanong is yung output tax. So, alam naman natin na yung formula natin sa VAT ay output tax less input tax equals VAT payable. So, ang tinatanong lang dito ngayon ay hindi VAT payable. Please take note, output tax lang. So, ang output tax ay yung revenue times yung tax rate. Yung sale of goods and services, tapos yung gross receipts, or yung gross receipts pala, no? O, yun yung magiging tax base natin. So, multiply lang natin yun ng 12%. Hindi naman VAT payable ang tinatanong. So, medyo madali lang. Okay, let's continue. Mr. Bengo is a contractor. In constructing a building, the contract price collected, please take note, collected na. So, ibig sabihin, nasa hand na ni contractor. But not included were for, so may 3,300,000 na na-collect for materials and 1,100,000 for labor. So, magkano ang iyong taxable gross receipts? So, kasama ba yung materials sa labor? Siyempre. So, yung na-collect for materials sa labor, i-add mo lang. So, 4,400,000 ang taxable gross receipts. Then, multiply mo yan ng 12%. 4,400,000 times 12%. 528 ang ating output tax. Problem number 3. Bago natin ituloy, let's review lang yung VAT formula natin, no? Yung VAT formula natin. So, ang VAT formula natin is value added tax on sales of goods or services times 12% equals output VAT less input VAT na VAT on purchases of materials, supplies, and services na kailangan sa pag-produce ng product. Tapos, kukunin mo yung difference ng dalawa, yun yung VAT payable na i-remit sa BIR. So, baka ginagamit niyo yung formula nyo na. Ang tinatanong lang kasi is output VAT. Tax base saka output VAT. So, yung first step lang. So, hahanapin mo lang yung revenue, tapos 12%. Yun na yung output VAT. And syempre, hindi mo makukompute yun kung wala kang tax base, yung gross receipts. So let's read. A building contractor received on a construction in progress of 2,200,000. So kasama na yun. Bakit kasama na yun? Kasi na-receive na ng contractor. So kasama na sa gross receipts. Based on percentage of completion of the building. In addition, he received 220,000 advance on the balance of the contract price on work still to be done. So, may hindi pa nagagawa, pero nagbigay na rin ng advance payment para doon yung client. All the amounts mentioned are VAT not included. So, very good pag VAT not included. So, ang problema natin kapag VAT included yan, so kailangan natin tanggalin yung VAT. Paano? Siyempre, di-discuss natin pag meron na tayo, nandun na tayo sa computation ng VAT payable. And then, magkakaroon din tayo ng example ng hindi lang VAT not included. So, question number 1, sagutin natin. Tax base natin. Magkano ang gross receipt natin? Siyempre, natanggap na yung 2.2 million. So, check. Kasama yun. How about yung 220,000? Yes, kasi nga, sabi natin kanina dun sa unang part ng ating discussion, yung advance payment ay kasama na. So, ang tax base natin is 2,420,000. Yun yung ating gross receipts times 12%. 526,000 pesos ang ating output value added tax. Another illustration, Dan, a contractor, had a contract receivable of 5 million. Value added tax is also not included. A building contract with Mr. E. So, ang client ay si Mr. E, si Dan ang contractor. So, ang magbabayad ng 5 million dapat ay si Mr. E kay Dan, contractor. So, yan ang babayaran ni Mr. E kay Dan, 5 million. Let's continue. Mr. E paid 4.8 million. So, despite yung amount ng contract na 5 million, ang binayaran lang ni client ni Mr. E is 4.8 million. Bakit? As he retained the balance of 200,000 as guarantee against defects. So, may retention, ay may retainer. No? So, portion of the amount doon sa contract na 5 million ay mag-hold siya. Parang assurance na pag may nangyari sa building, aayusin ni Dan, yung contractor. So, question number 1. The tax at gross receipts of Mr. D parang may mali. So, correct lang natin. Yung gross receipts lang yung tinatanong sa, parang tinatanong lang sa number 1. No? So, katulad nung previous example natin. So, ang gross receipts is, of course, magkano? 4.8 million. Bakit? Kasi nga, hinold pa yung wala pang control si Dan doon sa 200,000. So, wala pa sa kanya. Hindi pa binibigay ni Mr. E. Hindi pa nag-prescribe yung period din. So, pwede kasi hindi na niya talaga makuha yun. Kung halimbawa, may nangyari sa building tapos hindi niya ginawa. So, yun nga. 4.8 million ang sagot sa question number 1. Ang tanong lang doon ay gross receipts. Paki-ignore na lang yung ibang words dyan. Question number 2, the output value added tax is, of course, multiply mo lang ng 12%. So, 4.8 million times 12% is 576,000 pesos. Yun ang output VAT pa lang. Tax rates ng VAT on sale of services. So, unlike dun sa sale of goods, tatlo, dito sa sale of services, dalawa lang. Yun lang, 12% of gross receipts, at saka yung 0% of the gross receipts. So, itong, in general kasi, ang VAT rate natin is 12%. However, in some cases, merong, and in some cases, and in some industries, inaalaw yung zero-rated. Parang ito ay benefit na binibigay ng government dahil importante ang role nila. Binibigay ito sa mga exporter. No? So, discuss na lang natin pag nandun na tayo sa VAT on importation saka etc. Kung kailan mag-a-apply yung 0%. Tax formulas, the same pa rin. Output tax, yung VAT on sale of service, multiply mo ng 12%. Yung VAT rate natin, yan yung output tax. Then, from that output tax, ibabawas mo yung input tax, yung seller's value added tax on purchases of goods, services, equipment, etc. Basta may binayaran siya or may transaction siya na repetitive na in the ordinary course of business na merong VAT at yung binilhan niya is also a VAT registered person. No? So, entitled ka na ibawas mo yon. So, pag binawas mo yung input tax sa output tax, syempre, ang makukuha mo ay yung value added tax payable by the seller which will be remitted sa BIR. So, speaking of input tax, so ano nga ba yung mga ating input tax? So, saan ba tayo makakakuha ng input tax na i-deduct natin dun sa output tax para mapababa naman natin yung i-remit mong tax sa BIR na value na VAT payable mo. Para bumaba yung VAT payable mo, kailangan marami kang input tax. So, ito yung mga possible sources ng input tax. So una ay value-added tax paid on the following. On local value-added tax paid on local purchases from a VAT registered person and on importation. So, kailangan yung katransact mo ay VAT registered person. Except pag sa importation, regardless kung basta importation yan, entitled ka na ng input tax. For the following, ito yung mga possible mong bibilhin sa mga VAT registered person. Materials, supplies, or services. Pwede rin namang supplies, factory supplies, or office supplies. Pwede rin namang purchases for use in trade or business for which depreciation or amortization is allowed for income tax purposes. Ito naman yung mga capital asset, yung mga matataas ang value at ang magbe-benefit ay hindi lang yung current period. So, pwede rin siyang maging source of input tax. Halimbawa, bumili ka ng heavy equipment. Subject to VAT pala yun. So, magbabayad ka ng 12%. Yung 12% na babayaran mo yun, ibabawas mo din sa iyong output tax. So, gusto ko lang i-emphasize yung exempt automobiles, aircraft, and yacht. Ano pa ba? Aside from yung value-added tax on local purchases of goods and services, value-added tax paid on purchase of real property. So, kung bumili ka ng real property at yun, yung transaction na yun ay subject to VAT, yung goods na yun ay subject to VAT, then therefore, yung binayaran mong VAT dyan, pwede mong i-deduct sa inyong output tax. Number 3, value-added tax paid on purchase of services. Na pwede rin, di ba? Basta yung magre-render ng service is VAT registered. Kasi kapag hindi siya VAT registered, wala na. Hindi ka na pwedeng mag-claim ng input tax na binayaran mo sa purchases of goods or services mo. Kasi wala, in the first place, wala ka namang binayaran VAT. Doon, kasi nga non-VAT yung katransaction mo. So, parang mas maganda kung ikaw ay VAT taxpayer, piliin mo din yung iyong katransaction, di ba? Para nagkaroon ka ng input tax, yung mga VAT registered. So, may mga kilala kong ganun. So, gusto nila, ang katransact lang nila is VAT registered. Bakit? Kasi sayang yung ibabawas nila sa input tax. And then, last is yung transitional input tax. So, I believe yan yung susunod na topic, yung transitional input tax. So, punta na tayo sa susunod na slide. Mr. Ho made a contractor, constructed a commercial building for Mr. I. He secured the services of Mr. J. Mr. I paid 10 million to Mr. H. Mr. H paid Mr. J, a subcontractor, 2 million. All prices are VAT not included daw. So, Mr. H has an output tax of, magkano ba yung benta ni Mr. H? So, magkano ba yung revenue ni Mr. H? Mr. Ho? 10 million. Yan. Mr. I paid 10 million to Mr. H. Ayun nga, binayaran na. So, 10 million. Ang gross receipt is 10 million. And then, ang input tax niya is 2 million times 12%. So, 240,000. Yan yung kinuha ni Mr. H na subcontractor, si Mr. J. So, nagbayad siya ng subcontractor. So, merong contract of service, yung sale of service, subject also to value-added tax. So, pwedeng maging source ng input tax yun. So, 2 million times 12%, 240,000. So, magkano na? 1.2 million minus 240,000. Sagot sa 1 and 2. Subtract mo lang yung 2 sa 1. So, ulitin natin, 1.2 million minus 240,000. Ang VAT payable is 900. Question number 3. 960,000 pesos. So, another illustration tayo. Miss Kosia is a building contractor. He constructed, o she dapat yan. She constructed a building for Mr. L, for which he made a final billing on October 20, 2019 of 6 million. So, nag-final billing na 6 million. VAT not included yung 6 million. For materials used and labor applied. So, kasama na daw doon sa 6 million yung materials at saka labor. On that billing, he received 5 million. So, ang natanggap lang niya, doon sa 6 million na sinisingil, ang natanggap lang niya is 5 million on the date of billing with the balance received on October 29. Pero yung balance, natanggap niya noong October 29. Payments in October 2019 related to construction are as follows. So, ito yung binayaran ng 2019 October. Materials purchased on October 12, value-added tax not included, 1 million. Labor furnished by a subcontractor, October 30, but not included then, 800,000. How much is the value-added tax payable for 2019? So, output tax muna tayo. So, output tax muna tayo. So, yung sa revenue, ang contract price, ang binil niya ni Miss Sia kay Mr. L na nagpapagawa ng building is 6 million. However, noong billing na yon, ang binayaran lang ay 5 million. Pero, yung balance natanggap naman noong October 29 pa rin. So, ang tanong, kasama ba yung balance, yung 1 million na natira? Kasi 5 lang ang nasingil niya nung una. So, of course, kasama na. Kasi nga nabayaran naman noong October 29. So, ang gross receipts natin, ang total niyan, hindi na lang yung 5 million, kung hindi pati yung na-receive noong October na balance. So, 6 million. So, 6 million times 12%, ang output niya ay, output tax ay 720,000. Ngayon, tignan naman natin yung mga binili niya. Kung pwede siyang mag-claim ng input tax. So, materials, 1 million. Labor, 800,000. How much is the value-added tax payable? So, 1 million times 12%, 120. Tapos, yung sa labor naman, 800 times 12%, 96. So, all in all, 216,000. So, babawas mo sa output tax na 720. So, ang VAT payable mo ay 504,000. So, ulitin natin, ha? Output tax, 6 million times 12%, 720,000. Tapos, babawas natin yung input tax for materials. 1 million times 12%, 120. So, input tax yun. Ibabawas natin sa output tax sa 720 mamaya. Sa labor, ganun din. 800,000 times 12%. So, 96. So, all in all, 120 plus 96, 216. So, 720 minus 216. Ang VAT payable mo ay 504. pesos. Mr. Lee Bing is in the business of repairing motor vehicles, furnishing labor only, or both labor and parts. For 1 month, he had the following data. Value added tax not included now. Amounts received as advances on cars to be repaired and repainted. So may natanggap siyang 11,000. Amounts received for cars repaired, repainted, finished, and delivered sa owners. So meron na rin siyang na-deliver na. Naibigay na yung services. So for labor, 110. And for parts, 33,000. The parts were billed to the customer at the invoice price of the parts dealer. Amounts paid to machine shops for regrinding, reboring, and other machine shop jobs on car engines amounted to 44,000. Value added tax still not included. Amounts paid to supplier, 22,000. Value added tax not included pa rin. So the value added tax payable for the month is so unang-una muna, asan ba yung mga na-receive niya? So ulitin natin, 11 for labor, 110 and yung 33,000. So yan yung na-receive niya lahat. So i-total natin lahat yan. So magkano yung total na gross receipts niya? 154. So 154 times 12, yun yung output tax. So ulitin natin. 11,000, 110,000, saka 33,000 yung sa labor parts, saka yung cash received for advances. So 154,000 times 12%, 18,480. Next, kailangan nating i-determine kung magkano ang input tax para ma-deduct natin dun sa 18,480. So ano nga ba yung mga nabanggit diyan? So, mayroon siyang pinurchase na parts, 33,000. Tapos, yung 44,000 na yan, sa machine shop services. So, 33, 44, tapos ano pa? Ayan, meron pa siyang pinurchase sa supplier na 22,000. So, 33, 44, saka 22 times 12%. It is equal to 11,880. So, ibawas mo sa output tax na 18,480. So, ang sagot ay, ang value added tax ay 6,600. Ayan. So, last illustration bago sa application, Mr. Abby CD is a CPA in practice of public accounting. He is VAT registered taxpayer. Data for the taxable month, value added tax not included. So, mayroon siyang professional fees received, net of 10% withholding tax. 180. So, hindi na yan yung price niya, original price niya, kasi nabawasan na ng 10%. So, para hindi natin makalimutan, adjust na natin kaagad. So, i-divide natin yan ng 90%. So, papalitan mo na dapat yan ng amount na 200. Ibabalik natin yung tinanggal na 10%. So, yung 180, ulitin natin, yung 180, 200 na. Bakit 200? Kasi nga, nabawasan na yan ng 10%. So, kung nabawasan na ng 10%, yan, it represents 90 kasi natanggal na yung 10%. So, 180 divided by 90, makukuha mo yung 200,000. Next, mayroon siyang receivable na 300,000. Reimbursement received on advances for clients. So, may mga reimbursement na galing sa client. Expenses chargeable to the client, billed to clients, 20,000. Expenses chargeable to the client pa rin, billed to ABCD, 6,000. Tapos may purchases of computer, but registered, 70. Purchase of office supplies, 1,000. Payments for water, 10. Payments for electricity, 20. Payments to PLDT, 5,000. Salaries of personnel, 25. Tapos mayroong other expenses paid to VAT taxpayer, 3,000. And paid to non-VAT taxpayer, 8,000. So pag non-VAT taxpayer, kalimutan mo na kaagad yan kasi hindi siya kasama sa computation. So scrap yung 8,000. Non-VAT, lahat ng non-VAT hindi na kasama sa ating, hindi natin ko-consider. So output tax muna tayo. So magkano ba ang output tax? So magkano ba ang total gross receipts? So yung 180 na nasabi natin kanina, 200, kasama yon. And then, yung reimbursement na billed to ABCD lang. So, yung 20,000 kasi expenses chargeable to client, billed to client. So, sinisingil si client naman kasi ang sinisingil, hindi si Mr. ABCD. So, hindi babayaran niya ng Mr. ABCD. So, yun lang expenses chargeable to the client, expenses ni client dapat yun. Pero ang sinisingil ay si Mr. ABCD. So, ang mangyayari dyan, babayaran muna ni Mr. ABCD. Tapos siya na ang maniningil sa client. Parang ganun lang. In-accommodate lang ni Mr. ABCD. So, magkano lang ang kanyang output tax? So, ulitin natin, 200,000 plus yung 6,000 lang. So, 206 times 12%. Ang output tax mo ay 24,720. Now, let's go sa input tax. Yung ibabawas natin dyan sa 24,720. Please take note. Paano nakuha yung 24,720? Yung 200,000 plus yung 6,000 lang. Yung sa mga reimbursement received from advances to client. Yun lang sinisingil kay Mr. ABCD. Yung nakabill sa kanya. Yung nakabill sa client, hindi na. Hindi naman babayaran kasi ni Mr. Client ay ni Mr. ABCD. Kasi nga, hindi naman sa kanya sinisingil. Ay client naman sinisingil. So, bahala na si client doon. So, ano nga ba yung sources ng input tax mo? Yung expenses chargeable to client, 6,000 times 12%. Purchase of computer, kasama din yon, 7,000. So, 6,000, 70,000. Purchase of office supplies, 1,000, kasama din. Purchase of water, 10,000, kasama din. Purchase of electricity, 20,000, kasama din. Payment to PLDT, 5,000, so kasama din, 12%. Payment for other expenditures, 3,000 times 360. Yun lang binayaran sa VAT na 3,000. Yung 8,000 wag na kasi nga non-VAT naman siya. So, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-claim. So, ang total ng input tax natin, kapag in-add mo lahat yon, yung sinabi, yung in-enumerate natin, times 12%, ang makukompute ay 13,800. So, 24,720 minus yung input tax na 13,800 is equal to 10,920. Ulitin ko, 24,720 na output tax less yung input taxes. So, yung 6,000 expenses chargeable to client, payment to computer, purchase of office supplies, water, electricity, PLDT, at saka yung expenses na paid to VAT taxpayer na 3,000. So, paki-add mo lahat yun times 12%. So, makukuha ay 13,800. So, 24,720 minus 13,800. Ang VAT payable mo ay 10,920. Okay, so it's application time sa problem solving. Kayo naman ang bahala. So, yan. Paki-upload na lang yung solution dito sa application or problem solving doon sa link na ilalagay natin doon sa post natin dito sa explainer video chapter 2 part 2. And don't forget din na mag sign in para sa inyong attendance. So, pakitignan na lang yung problems, mga susunod na problem. Okay, so once again, paki-upload lang yung solution doon sa application natin, nandun sa problem solving natin, doon sa designated link para nakasort siya, para hindi halo-halo. Mahirap ng halo-halo yung sinasubmit niyo. So, nakasort siya by file. So, dapat doon lang kayo sa designated link. Kasi kapag hindi kayo doon sa designated link, hindi makakount yung inyong sinubmit. So, makisuyo na lang sa classmate na nakapag-submit na kung paano mag-submit. Or, pwede nyo namang ipa-upload na lang sa kanila under your name. So, kayang-kaya nyo nang gawan ng paraan yung pag-upload. So, this is Romualdo Fernandez Tredo. See you sa next explainer video sa chapter, sa next lesson pala natin. Meron pa yatang ibang parts ito bago tayo mag-chapter 4. So, watch out na lang. Thank you very much and God bless.